The international break continues this week, and in South America, it's CONMEBOL World Cup Qualifying Matchday 8 with 5 games kicking off on Tuesday, September 10th. A lot of these games have been tight during qualifying, with most teams playing to the under so far more often than not. That continued last week on Matchday 7 with the under 2.5 going 3-2, and it was almost 4-1, if not for a 91st minute goal from Argentina to make it 3-0 in their game. Argentina will meet Colombia in the first game in this week's round of games. Additionally, while the prices may look tempting, it's rare that too many road teams get wins in these South American games. Argentina have won all 3 of their road games, but after that, 4 teams have 1 road win, and the other 5 still have 0. Let's break down all 5 games and make Tuesday's CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying predictions in this video, and I'll include a summary of the picks at the end as well. If you want more soccer picks, be sure to give the video a like, subscribe, or sign up for extra members-only picks by hitting that join button and signing up for exclusive content. The biggest game looks like Colombia and Argentina this week. On Tuesday, it's the first of 5 matches kicking off match day 8, and that's at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. And the odds are relatively very close here. The draw, plus 200, both teams at plus 175 to get the win over at Bet365 head-to-head. This is a big rematch game from the Copa America final, which ended 0-0, and it saw Argentina going on to win 1-0 in extra time. For Colombia, they've kept their impressive form going away after they were in great form before that loss to Argentina, and they've continued to stay undefeated here. They played Peru last week. They drew 1-1. They controlled the game, 70% possession, but they were down 1-0 until Luis Diaz drew level in the 82nd minute. Now, they're still the only team yet to lose during qualifying at 3-4-0. That makes them 3rd in the table. They're 1 point back of Uruguay and 5 back of their opponents in this game, Argentina. Their loss to Argentina in the Copas is their only time in 15 games where they have not scored a goal, and it's their only loss in their last 30 games. Manager Nestor Lorenzo has only seen 1 defeat, that Copa America final, during his time in charge of the team. In fact, each of their past 2 losses have been 1-0 defeats to Argentina. So when it's not Argentina, Colombia is usually a good bet to at least not lose. But they did keep this close, only losing in extra time last time. For Argentina, goals by McAllister, Alvarez, and Dybala paced Argentina to a 3-0 win over Chile last week. They held 65% possession, let in shots 16-5, shots on target 8-1 as well. However, the score did end lopsided. It was just 1-0 until late goals in the 84th and 91st minutes. Argentina is top of the table right now, 6-0-1. They've only allowed 1 goal in those 7 games, and they are 4 points clear of second place Uruguay. They didn't blow anyone away during the Copa America, but they still won 2-0, 1-0, 2-0, 1-1, winning in PKs, 2-0, and then 1-0 winning in extra time in that final. Bet against Argentina at your own risk. They've won 12 straight, 26 of 27, and they are 52, 10-2 in their past 64. Both teams are 5-2 to the under so far in qualifying, and both have seen their games average less than 2 goals per game in their matches. It's 1.9 for Argentina, 1.6 for Colombia, and both recent meetings between these teams have been tight, 1-1 and 0-0 if we just look at regulation. Both are riding impressive runs, hard teams to bet against. Argentina is undefeated in 13 road World Cup qualifying games going back over the years. Colombia has just 1 win versus Argentina as well in 13 meetings, so might be tough to bet them to win here. James Rodriguez only played a half against last week, so it should be fresh, but they are out. David Ospina, Davinson Sanchez. For Argentina, Messi still recovering from an ankle injury suffered in the Copa America, while Nicolas Tagliafico, Leonardo Valeri, and Ezequiel Palacios are all out as well with injuries. The odds of plus 200 for the draw are the shortest draw odds for any of the 5 games this week, so odds makers are also expecting this to be tight. Both teams, like we said, priced the same, plus 175 on the money line as well. If you wanted to go under, the under is heavily juiced, minus 225, so that's only playable if you were throwing that in a parlay or got creative with some sort of same-game parlay. Instead, let's back a tight game. Let's go for the draw, plus 200 odds between Colombia and Argentina. Game number 2, Ecuador and Peru, kicking off at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Ecuador, big favorites, minus 239. The draw, plus 310. And Peru, big outsiders at 8-1. In 2021, if we look at head-to-head matchups between them, Peru won 2-1 World Cup qualifying. They drew 2-2 in the Copa America, with the most recent meeting, a 2022 qualifier, also drawing 1-1. Peru has only 1 win in the past 5 meetings, including 2 other friendlies. For Ecuador's form, they held Brazil to just 1 goal last week, 3 shots on target, but only had 2 shots on target themselves, and lost 1-0 in new manager Sebastian Bacrices's first game in charge. That puts them 2-2 and 6th in the table, and scoring just 5 goals and allowing 4. They've gone 5-2 to the under 2.5, with games averaging just 1.3 goals per game. They only won one game of Copa America, but going out in the quarters to Argentina would have been expected, and they did push that game to PKs after a 1-1 draw. Go further back, Ecuador has been in strong form, 10-3-6, scoring in 12 of those last 19 games. For Peru, on matchday 7th, they drew at home to Colombia 1-1, but they're still the only winless team in South American qualifying at 0-3-4. That makes them 10th overall, and they've only scored 2 goals in that time. That lack of goal scoring has contributed to them going a perfect 7-0 to the under. During Copa America, they drew Chile 0-0, lost to Canada 1-0, and Argentina 2-0. Those last 2 losses broke up a streak of 6 games undefeated, but they also only have 3 wins in their past 15 across all competitions. During those 15 games, they've scored just 9 goals, and 4 of those came in one game. That was a friendly against the Dominican Republic. They've also been shut out 9 times in their last 15. For Ecuador, Peru, predictions. Ecuador has a strong run of 9 home World Cup qualifying games where they've not lost right now. I would obviously give Ecuador the home edge here, but that is heavily juiced, so we'll have to get creative with maybe some sort of same-game parlay, like Ecuador to win, and under 4 game goals coming in at minus 125 odds. Moving along in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying, it's Chile and Bolivia at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Chile, big home favorites, minus 350. The draw, plus 450. And Bolivia, huge outsiders at 9-1. These teams drew 0-0 in a 2023 friendly. Chile won 3-2 qualifying for the 2022 World Cup in their last competitive match. Chile usually gets the edge over Bolivia with only 2 losses across the last 24 overall meetings, and they are 15-7-2 in that time. For Chile, it was a 3-0 loss to Argentina last week, but they did keep that game close, only being down 1-0 until late in that game. That leaves Chile with just 1 win in 7 World Cup qualifying games, where they are 1-2-4 with just 5 points, sitting 9th, only above the winless Peru. This is not a great Chile team right now. They only have 2 wins in 10, 6 wins in 26. They've scored 0 goals in their 3 Copa America games, but then they only allowed 1 as well, with 2 0-0 draws and a 1-0 loss to Argentina. 5 of those 6 Chile wins in their recent form guide have come at home, so this could be a chance for them to add to that here against Bolivia, but I'm not sure betting minus 350 on this Chile team right now looks like a great bet, at least not a good value bet. Bolivia is also struggling. They're sitting 8th. They're 2-0-5, but one of those 2 wins in qualifying did come last week at home in a huge 4-0 win over Venezuela. Bolivia had 4 different scores. They scored early and late, 13 minutes in, first half stoppage time, 46 minutes in, and 89 minutes as well. They piled up 19 shot attempts and 8 shots on target in that game. It was a good start for new manager Oscar Villegas in his first game in charge. Now, they're usually a tough team to bet on, though. They lost all 3 Copa America games 2-0, 5-0, 3-1. They only have 4 wins in 26, and they've been outscored 56-19 in that time. They had given up multiple goals in 5 straight before last week, and they had been shut out in 4 of 7 and 7 of 12. Bolivia away from home is rarely a good bet, basically never. They have only 2 road wins, both being friendlies across the last few years. If we look at Chile, Bolivia predictions, both usually struggle for goals, and both are also missing offensive players as well. Chile in Alexis Sanchez and Henry Vaca, and for Bolivia, Henry Vaca. Bolivia will also be without Hector Cuella, midfielder, and Ramiro Vaco, a defensive player as well, with yellow card suspensions. I can't take Bolivia to win, especially away from home, but then Chile just rarely gets goals themselves, and they're out Sanchez. So if I had to pick a winner, certainly Chile, but not at minus 350. So let's bet the under 2.5 plus 105 odds. Next up, the 4th game on the card for Tuesday, it's Venezuela and Uruguay. This one's at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Venezuela plus 210. The draw also plus 210. Uruguay slight favorites on the road at plus 150. In qualifying for the 2022 World Cup, Uruguay won 4-1, and they drew 0-0. They've also drawn these teams 5 of their last 9 meetings. Venezuela has only 1 win, though, between these teams in the last 12 games, and that goes all the way back to 2016 in Copa America. For Venezuela, they got battered away to Bolivia last week 4-0. That leaves them mid-pack in qualifying at 2-3-2, 5th, 1 point behind 4th Brazil, 1 point above 6th Ecuador. They went to the quarterfinals of Copa America, but they were upset by Canada in PKs, but they had won 3 group stage games and have been generally in good form at 12-6-6 in the past couple of years. Uruguay, they had 66% possession at home to Paraguay last week, only managed, though, 1 shot on target with their 11 shot attempts, and Paraguay had 8 attempts, 2 shots on target themselves. Neither could find the back of the net, and it ended 0-0. It was also Luis Suarez's last game on the international stage for Uruguay. La Celeste are still second, though, in the table, 4-2-1. They've scored the most goals of the 10 teams with 13 goals in 7 games. In the Copa America, they lost to Colombia in the semifinals. They went on to beat Canada in PKs for the third place game after a 2-2 draw. Overall, they're in pretty good form, with the Colombia loss, their only defeat in 10 games, and being 21-8-5 in the past couple of years. In the past 23 games, they've only failed to get on the score sheet 4 times. Typically, Uruguay, they have the edge in this game, and they are slight favorites in the odds, but it's tough to win on the road in general, as we talked about earlier in this video. And they are also still out 5 players who were suspended from fighting with fans back in Copa America. So this is a relatively depleted side as well, and Luis Suarez no longer available either. Venezuela has gone 5-2 to the under. I would expect this game to be close as well. I'm going to say Venezuela, at least not to lose this game, so that's the double chance, win or tie, plus under 4 goals, coming in at -138. That's a same game parlay created over at Bet365. And the final game of the night, being kicked off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, is Paraguay and Brazil. Paraguay plus 525 at home. The draw plus 275. Brazil, odds-on favorites, -175. Head-to-head between Paraguay and Brazil. Brazil just beat Paraguay 4-1 in the Copas. In the last World Cup qualifying, they won 2-0 and 4-0. And Brazil hasn't lost to Paraguay in 6 games, with 5 straight wins, only allowing 1 goal in those 5 wins. Paraguay, in the game, their last game last week, it saw them only register 2 shots on target. They held the Uruguay to just 1, drew 0-0 on the road in what was Gustavo Alfaro's first game in charge after coming over from Costa Rica. It's a good road point, but they still have only 1 win in qualifying at 1-3-3, making them 7th. They've been a dead nuts under team so far, 7-0 to under 2.5, scoring just 1 goal, conceding only 3, and seeing their games average a minuscule 0.6 goals per game. In the Copa America, they lost 2-1, 4-1, and 2-1. They have just 1 win in 9, 2 wins in 13, have only scored 5 goals in those 13, and they've been shut out 8 times in that time. Go further back, and it's even poorer reading with only 6 wins in their last 36. Brazil topped Ecuador 1-0 at home last week with Rodrigo getting the game's lone goal in the 30th minute. With 3 shots for Brazil and 2 for Ecuador, the game offered very few shots on target. Brazil has scored 9, allowed 7. They're 3-1-3, 4th in the table with 10 points. Brazil had been on a good run of form after changing coaches, and they were 3-4-0 heading into the quarterfinals of Copa America against Uruguay before they drew 0-0 and lost in PKs. In their last 9 games across all competitions, they've scored 14 goals, scored in 7 of 9, and kept 4 clean sheets. Prior to that stretch, they had only 4 wins in 12, though. During qualifying, their games have been tight, scoring 8, conceding 7, seeing the under bets go 4-2. In the prediction for this game, I've talked about the rarity of road wins, but this does look like a good spot where it could happen. Brazil has scored more than 1 goal just 1 time in their last 6 games, but that was a 4-1 win against this Paraguay side back in the Copas. But then Paraguay have been tight, allowing just 3 goals during this qualifying campaign. So a few different options here. Brazil to win in under 5 if you think that they'll get the win, but maybe a blowout win. That would be -143, or some better odds value here. Brazil to win in under 4, expecting an even closer game, +100 odds. Let's make that the best bet between Brazil and Paraguay. Now that will wrap up the 5 games for Matchday 8 in CONMEBOL World Cup Qualifying on Tuesday. Those are my bets. You can find the bets in a summary at the end of this video. Be sure to share your bets down there in the comments as well. And if you want a great bonus to use from one of the top sportsbooks in your industry when you're betting on these games, go down to the comments section of this video. You can click on the link signupexpert.com/shredthespread. You'll be taken to a list of all of the available sports books that are in your area, and you can see the tons of great new customer promos, lots of free bonus money available, sometimes even up to $1,500 for new sports bettors. Be sure to check that out, and good luck with all your bets this week.